Once Emperor Jahangir said, if there is a heaven on earth, if there is a paradise on earth, it is here, it is here, it is here. He referred to Kashmir. The narrator of this chapter wanted to visit Kashmir since year 2012, and finally she is now going to Kashmir in year 2014. She first goes for a 7-day trek to visit the Great Lakes of Kashmir. Later, she stays in Srinagar for a brief amount of time because she had to catch a flight back to her house from Srinagar. She stays in a houseboat in Dal Lake in Srinagar. She wanted to see the floating vegetable market and also the Nishad Bagh. She hires a shikara. The shikara man arrives early in the morning at 4 a.m. next day to escort her from her houseboat to the shikara. They go and see the floating vegetable market. She could see that people grow vegetables like cucumber, tomatoes, and cauliflowers in their home gardens, and every morning they would load their shikaras with these vegetables and sell them in the vegetable market. However, there was no business of money there. They practiced barter system. So they exchanged vegetables with vegetables. She was very impressed to see that there was a very high spirit of brotherhood amongst the people in that place. Everybody was helping each other, and each man was loading, unloading things for each other. She was feeling a little out of place because she had nothing to exchange. Then she meets Mr. Flowerman, who rides his boat towards her to gift her a flower. By this time, she becomes very friendly with the shikara man. The shikara man tells her about the shikaras. She also understands, she learns more about the shikaras. People in Srinagar, most of the people in Srinagar have these shikaras. They are as common as cars and bikes in our houses. They would use these shikaras to go to school, office. They would do their business over these shikaras. They would attend events and other places. They would use these to commute. The shikara man also told her that the lives of Kashmiris, or especially Srinagar, can be divided into two major categories. There are some people who lived on the lake, on the water, and there were some people who lived on land. So they used roads. They were connected with the roads. The shikara man takes her to the Char Chinar Island, which was on the Dal Lake. Before that, he also shows her a marriage hall in the shape of a houseboat. It looked like a perfect destination wedding with a beautiful scenic hill view at the backdrop. He takes her to the Char Chinar after that, which is a small island on the lake, and it was called so because there were 4 chinar trees in that island. He parks his boat and they go to the island, and she could see magnificent view from that island. He also showed her the Chori ki Kheti, which was small pieces of land which people used to cultivate. There was no set owner of these lands. Whoever discovers these lands are free to call them their own land, and they would cultivate crops in them. He asks her to jump into a small 5 square feet Chori ki Kheti, and he assured that she won't sink in that. After that, the narrator plans to see the Nishad Bagh. So the shikara man rows his boat and he parks his boat at the bank, and then they cross the road to walk to Nishad Bagh. She realized that walking was better than being on boat because it was time consuming and also very expensive. When they reached Nishad Bagh, it was 8 a.m. You have to remember that the whole chapter takes place between the timing of 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. only, because she had to catch a flight after that. When they reached Nishad Bagh, it was 8 a.m., which was a little way too early. The Bagh had not opened, so they had some omelette. She had an omelette from a roadside stall. When the gate opened, she saw Nishad Bagh, which is also called the Mughal Garden. But unfortunately, there was no blooms, no flowers in that garden because it was out of season. Because it was not season. So, but she still enjoyed the trip to Nishad Bagh, taking photographs. She posed as an old actress, and the Shikara man was taking her photographs. After visiting Nishad Bagh, she told her Shikara man friend that she wanted to taste noon chai, which is a special delicacy of Kashmir. It's a tea which is salty. So he takes her to one of his friend's house on the Dal Lake. She called that house very beautiful, and it was like a house coming out of some fairy tale story. The people in that house were very humble and shy. They offered her noon chai and bread. After having that, she also harvested some of their cucumbers, which were fresh and sweet. And the Shikara man showed her the lilies, the water lilies on the lake. Now it was sunny, the sun had come out, and the lilies were in full bloom. He picked some lilies and made a garland for her. And then he leaves her at her house. Now, you also must remember that while he was talking to the narrator, she and the Shikara man had become very good friends, and she had started calling him Ashik Bhai. The man would tell her emotional stories and happy stories about Kashmir, and she gave him an appropriate name, Ashik Bhai. Ashik Bhai drops her to her houseboat at the end of the trip, and he calls her when she reaches her home to find out if she had reached home safely. He also sends her a pair of arthur. Arthur is a pair of dangling earrings that is very common in Kashmir. The narrator then assures that she remembers good memories of this whole trip, and she would say that she would never forget this trip to Kashmir. It was a lovely trip that she had.